What will you do when the system collapses? The day is rapidly approaching when you will no longer be able to deny an inconvenient truth: that a group of self-anointed elites has long been planning a restructure of this world to suit their own interests of power and control. You will no longer be able to deny that they have intentionally devastated the world financial system to foster this goal. You will no longer be able to deny that they have weakened the people by undermining long-standing standards of ethics and morality, and you will no longer be able to live in denial that they have intentionally deprecated the health and welfare of the people under the guise of industrialized food and modern medicine. They have relied upon your neglect as their greatest ally, but it makes little sense to wallow in blame or self-pity. You will be faced with some very stark realities that will directly affect your property, freedoms, and your life. Those who do not share your best interests have shown their hand. They have even given their plan a name: the Great Reset. They don't hide it, they just rely on your neglect and denial. But take this thought process a step further. How would they get everyone to go along with such a reset? Maybe those who have little or have been politically indoctrinated would accept this, but what about those who have spent lifetimes working to create wealth? Why would they give that up? There are only two possibilities: incentive or desperation. Incentive would come at a cost to those who do not share your best interests. Desperation could be manufactured through crises. Which of these do you think is the more likely path for them to choose? Your time to prepare for this is very short, but you can still take steps by asking yourself some very pointed and uncomfortable questions. What will you do when you can't get your money from the bank? To get where they want to go, those who do not share your best interests need to dismantle the legacy financial system. Their intention is to introduce a world currency that is both traceable and controllable. To do this, they will need to destroy the legacy financial system. It will not be enough to simply cause inconvenience. They need to make the old system inoperable. They will need to create a desperation among the people to buy into their new system, even though the people will know the failures of the current system are the direct results of the actions of the elites. They are banking on the fact that it won't matter because you will value basic survival needs over protests. Are they right? What will you do? What will you do when you lose your retirement savings? To a large degree, wealth is freedom because wealth lessens dependency. That philosophy doesn't work in the new system being built by those who do not share your best interests because independent people are not easy to control. They need to destroy stored wealth, and where is most of the wealth stored? It is in the retirement accounts and property. Property is difficult to destroy. It can be devalued, but it is still physically tangible. Retirement accounts are simply numbers in a computer. Where is that wealth? Is it in a company stock or a fund that owns that stock? How many claims are there for each derivative item? Destruction of this is easy. Will you be able to resist the temptation of a new ration currency when you have no retirement savings? Are you going to be able to work as your body fails you in age? What will you do? What will you do when you lose your job? Those who do not share your best interests love panic. It degrades logic and causes people to make poor, rash decisions. The vast majority rely upon the income from their employment to make ends meet. As the financial system collapses, companies will be forced to cut their workforces to stay solvent. If you no longer have income from your job, how would you pay your rent or mortgage, buy your food, or put gas in your vehicle? A government-supplied universal basic income based on a controllable, traceable currency, perhaps? When you can no longer rely on your job to provide the income you need, what will you do? What will you do when the supply chain is disrupted? If you can overwhelm your opponent, you can quickly achieve a decisive victory. If you give your adversary time to regroup or plan a counter-movement, the result becomes less certain. Those who do not share your best interests will attempt to overwhelm you through a variety of mechanisms, with one of the most important being to deny you the necessities of daily life. No matter how fierce, a muzzled dog must comply if he hopes to eat. You have witnessed supply disruption in recent years, but it will pale in comparison to what you are about to see. When you can no longer step out to the local store to purchase one of life's necessities, what will you do? What will you do when you can't fuel your vehicle? Transportation is obviously vital to the movement of goods and services. But have you ever thought about your own freedom of movement? If you want to control a population, you need to restrict their movement. If you have vehicles that are powered by a consumable resource, would it not make sense to restrict the access to that resource? What will you do when you can't get gas for your car? What will you do when your power becomes unreliable? If modern society has an Achilles heel, it is the reliance on electric power. You take for granted the fact that it is readily available to power industry, food preservation, and even your home. If you wanted to make someone more pliable to your will, would it not be logical to restrict their access to comfort and necessity? When your lights do not turn on, what will you do? What will you do when people become desperate? It is hard to imagine when you have only lived in times of plenty, but even good people can become unpredictable during times of extreme uncertainty. What do you think someone would be willing to do if their children were hungry? If they couldn't pay their mortgage? If their power was out? If it was you instead of your neighbor, what would you do? What will you do when loved ones are dying? This system is built on a series of dependencies that can topple in a domino effect with the right push. Whether as a result of supply disruption, medical problems, violence, or simply mental breakdown, lives will be lost. If it is someone close to you, what will you do? Those who do not share your best interests will have to gamble. To get you to their new system, they have to get you to abandon the current one. Like a basking walrus, as long as you are comfortable and remain unaware of the lurking polar bear, you are not incentivized to change position. But the moment it charges, you will be forced to react. They have worked hard to keep you comfortable while they position their pieces to strike. But inevitably, they have to create hardship because it is a necessary element for their plan to succeed. But there is an opportunity when they make this move, because though people will panic, there will also be anger. Properly focused, this anger could be instrumental to help make real change. Do not allow them to transfer blame away. When you see friends and family get distracted by their sideshow, bring them back to center by reminding them who is really responsible for their suffering. When the opportunity arises, ask yourself, what will you do? It's game time, folks.